Okay, welcome back again. We can restart our class. 23 of you have already joined now. Okay, so what I'm trying to do, I have uploaded some video and I have sent you all the link, right? So I'm doing that gradually because that takes time. But my endeavor would be to to send you across the discussions that we do in online mode. Okay. Now, we can further continue our discussions, and maybe in today's discussions, or maybe during the next discussion, we will try to conclude our discussions on Kautalya's views on politics, statecraft, the way he understands the nature and functions of the state, the role and functions of king, right? So this is what we have been trying to do, in fact. And if you recall, the point I was trying to highlight, that as far as Kautalya is concerned, in Kautalya's understanding, the economic and military might of a state is significant, but he would put a lot of emphasis on the wise policies that would be followed by the king. Number one. Number two, as far as the personal qualities of the king are concerned, Kautalya does mention them very specifically, like being he has to be wakeful, he has to be enterprising, and he has to be wise and intelligent, right? But when it comes to understand that whether the king with his qualities alone can achieve the objective successfully, so in that case, Kautalya suggests that this cannot happen without the economic and military power that the state may have. So that is where Kautalya cautions the king that he may be very brave, for instance, or the valor of the king may be a significant quality that would be required to become a successful king. But king should always bring his valor only next to the economic and military power of the state. So that is where the king is advised always to make the state strong economically as well as militarily. So that is something we find in Kautalya. At the same time, this is also very much significant for us to understand that Kautalya was very much aware that the state does not exist in isolation. So there are similar kingdoms or states which exist side by side, and the state is required to manage its relations with other states. So relations in the field of trade, for instance, right? Or the state has to be very cautious about the intentions of other kings. So that is where he brings in the eighth element in the understanding of overall sovereignty of the state. So enemy or shatru is the eighth element in Kautalya's understanding. Now please try to understand that when Kautalya adds enemy or shatru as the eighth element, he is emphasizing upon the fact that as far as the state is concerned, to exist as a state, number one, number two, to maintain peace within the state, and number three, to remain strong and powerful, the king has always to be cautious, and he always has to be attentive to the actions and intentions both of the neighboring states. So that is where, in his understanding, enemy or shatru becomes the eighth element. And again, that is something very significant for us to that is very significant for us to understand in terms of what has come down to us as mandala theory, right? Mandala theory. Now, there are two things which I would mention in the beginning, and then we will go on to understand the specific descriptions which are part of Kautilya's mandala theory. So first thing I want to add, that as far as Kautilya's mandala theory is concerned, right? Kautilya's mandala theory is significant, and people have paid attention in academic circles and even in the policy making circles to Kautilya's understanding of Kautilya's understanding of mandala, primarily because he has dealt with the relationship of states in a systematic manner. Now, why I am telling you this point is primarily because that mandala theory was not something which was originally given by Kautilya, meaning that Kautilya's is not the first instance wherein we find mandala theory, right? So before Kautilya also we find the mention of mandala and mandala. What mandala and mandala theory is I'm coming to, right? So that's why, say for instance, in Mahabharata there is a mention of this mandala theory, right? But as I told you, why people in the academics, the researchers, and people even in the policy making circles, they have paid attention to Kautilya, especially primarily because, number one, the issue has been dealt with and explained Kautilya probably in a more systematic manner compared to what was done previously. And number two, as far as Kautilya's understanding of the mandala is concerned, right? So he not only understands the relationship of various states within a mandala, but he also explains that how gradually the relations may undergo change given the policies which would be followed or which would be pursued by the king. So that's what is important, right? Now, what we understand as a mandala theory, which in my opinion is about understanding the spatial arrangement of states, meaning that this is a kind of knowledge which tells us that if we look at the presence of states on geography, then it is very much possible to know the kind of relationship that may exist between two states, right? So mandala theory, first it is about the spatial arrangement of the states. Number two, it derives or it makes some kind of inference based on that special arrangement, the kind of relationship that may exist between or among the nations, right?